Hello lovely people, come with me to grab some pumpkins that later on we'll paint with watercolors to create a beautiful autumnal sketchbook spread. But before that, let's go back in time. At the end of September, I went to Lincolnshire Woods to search for inspiration and pumpkin patches to draw into my sketchbook, but I guess I was way too early for that. If you're new to the channel, I'm Radost, a self-taught artist working with watercolors, and would love to share my art journey with you. I can't just go on a walk for inspiration in English countryside without a warming cup of tea, and this vintage tea room was a perfect choice. Most of the leaves are still green, but you can feel in the crispiness of the air that autumn is coming. These lovely ladies here caught my eye, and I'm planning to reserve a special place in my sketchbook to at least one of them. You can't just drive fast in the countryside, because these brave little ones enjoy to pop up and race with you. I will be brave too and start with one of them, a beautiful male pheasant. Let's start with the pencil sketch. As it's a study, I don't mind the harsh pencil lines. They can be really helpful. I chose the male one because of the color palette of his feathers, so vibrant that made me wonder what miracles the nature can create. And I'm really liking how this guy turns out. It's sad that for some people these birds are just born for shooting. For me, they are really interesting to observe and later to practice my painting skills. And watercolors are really good for painting birds in my opinion. The brave brushstrokes with liquid paint can create interesting forms and express movement really easily, as the birds inhabit the earth but also fly confidently in the sky. Although the pheasants are okay flyers, they prefer running from what I've seen. What is so cool with the pheasants is that they either run really funny and start to fly or freeze like statues. Couldn't watch them without laughing, honestly. And obviously they are not really good at decision making, as they sometimes wander way too long which way to go when they see a car. But let's go back in the colors of this one. The wonderful selection of colors that Mother Nature created I may not express in its full beauty, but I would like to try and show it through my sketch. And watching it static, this pheasant actually evokes thoughts about elegance and grace. What do you think? Does he look elegant? They were probably asking themselves, who are these new people around here watching us? These 2 pages of my sketchbook are really special because they are the last ones. I started it a year ago and I can't wait to make a sketchbook tour, so stay tuned about that. So I wanted this last spread to show the beauty of the countryside in autumn. The calm sheep walking around, the funny running pheasant, the leaves slowly turning into golden, and the symbol of the autumn here, the pumpkins. Every time I was having a trip in the countryside, I was enchanted by the calmness the sheep express. Like the time just stops while watching them or run backwards. And I thought I need this calmness for my sketchbook. A lot of artists back then and now got inspired by sheep flocks and the farm animals in general. Now it pops to my mind the story of Jason and the golden fleece, and that golden fleece became a symbol of authority and kinship. The tranquility and the sense of order in farm life is something that charms me as an artist and a person. The sheep we saw that day had almost black faces, so mine here will be with that kind of face too, which will stand out on the white paper. I've never painted the sheep before, and I had some struggles with the fleece, but overall I think it turned quite cute with these warm eyes. Speaking of cute, I love fuzzy little bodies of the bumblebees, and I wanted to include one here. Although I'm a little scared of them sometimes. There is a campaign here in the UK for protecting the bees, and that's really great. We should be more conscious about the chemicals we use and the pollution in general. Honeybees are incredible creatures, and being more educated about them can help us understand why they should be protected. Let's go and see the pumpkins and draw some of them. It was so cool that the paths of the gardens were decorated for Halloween. I presume it was for the little kids, but who cares? I enjoyed them too. This pumpkin patch has free access, so you only pay for the pumpkins you pick, which is perfect. The whole estate is wonderful to visit, and if you're in the UK, I highly recommend Doddington Hall. This one I liked from the moment I saw it. I don't know why, it just spoke to me. Look at these babies. And the sun made them even brighter orange, contrasting with the green grass. This cutie definitely will be taken home. Alright, it's time to let out the sketchbook and start painting. As you can see, we have this feathery company. They literally surrounded us. I'm going to start with the bigger one as we took 3. The first one I spotted in the batch. This time I made my orange by mixing red and warm yellow, and of the shadowy places I added some burnt sienna. There are places in the pumpkin that are green, and I try to express that with wet on wet technique. While the light orange is still wet, to put some dots of green. There is something magical in autumn, in the whole transforming process. For some it's sad that summer's gone, but for a few it brings hope and maybe a new beginning. I wonder what it means to you who are watching this. Sadness, joy, tell me. The pumpkin somehow became a symbol of autumn, or at least for me. That's why I was so impatient to go to the pumpkin patch and enjoy walking around them like the toddlers around me. The ducklings were checking me out. It was so sweet, distracting but sweet. What's important in our pumpkin here is to leave a white space to create the illusion of a highlight. And with darkening the shadowy areas, this space really pops out. The rusty orange color of the pumpkins hints the change in the color everywhere. They inspire a whole aesthetic from hot beverages and delicious recipes to clothes, nail art, and home decor. The days become shorter, the air colder, and that pumpkin color somehow metaphorically succeeds in warming us. I love using warm colors in daily life, in my makeup and clothes. They just create the sense of comfort, and I rediscover using them in my art as well. I guess I've started using my sketchbook properly when it's finished, but combining different objects that have the same vibe is incredible. For example, in this case, the beginning of autumn. Like a visual journal, telling a different story with each page. I think when I open this page years later, I will be able to remember this exact moment, my excitement about the pumpkins, all the smiles they provoked, and the happiness to be able to share this feeling with you. Before that, I used a bunch of sheets of watercolor paper and some smaller sketchbooks that I've never finished. And at the comfort of my studio, let's start with the sketch of the smallest of the pumpkins. The main reasons that I took it were its cuteness and the peculiar green parts. They created interesting shapes and are a challenge for self-taught artists like me. I continued to use the smaller palette and mix my own shades of orange. And we know it's not only orange. There are so many nuances, and mixing them can create your unique looking pumpkin, which is so cool. I'm trying to illustrate the pumpkin as I see it, but also to improvise a little bit, especially with the sizes. I'll explain that later. While I was on the pumpkin patch, I was in a hunt not only for perfect home decor like most of the people there. I was searching for perfect models, muses you might say. And I think I succeeded. All of them are different from one another and have their own charm. I spoke a lot about oranges, but maybe it's time to say something about the greens. I love my palette, but sometimes it's hard with the greens as they can be really cold and, in my opinion, even look unnatural. So I tend to tone them down, sometimes make them warmer with yellows, even light brown. Remember when I told you earlier about improvising with sizes of the pumpkins? Let me explain myself now. For some reason, I started with the big orange pumpkin, this whole composition, without thinking that I might need a bigger one to sit in the back, and so I just decided to change the size of the medium to fit perfectly on the page. And so now we have one big yellowy pumpkin at the back just to finish this triangle properly. Choosing the colors for this one was really tricky as I was afraid it might turn too pale. Then I started to think the opposite. What if I make it too darker and lose the contrast between them? There is always that stage of wondering at the beginning, when the head is still thinking, too many questions and even frustration. But I believe I have a cure about it, and it's keep going. Because when you continue with it, eventually you just go into what I'd like to call coloring mode. Then all the self-doubt thoughts tend to disappear. You just try to represent the things visually. At least most of them. That's why art can be therapeutic for some people. Of course, I'm not an expert, but felt the urge to share my experience. When I started coloring the leaves, I asked myself why. Why did I choose leaves to paint, as I'm not good at this? But what autumnal spread it would be without leaves? They are one of the main heroes during this season. They slowly change into reds, oranges and yellows. The air becomes cool and crisp, and I start believing in miracles again. So leaves had to be in it, and some acorns, and I chose to show you this stage of oak branches when they are part green, part golden. That transition for me is really important as it's the first step of the big change. And we all know that the first steps are important in every life. And besides, I love oak trees. I can't mess the leaves that much, can I? I don't know about you, but I used to hate changes. I felt like a cat stuck into its routine. But with years, I realized that some changes can be good for you. These leaves may fall, it may look even sad, but during spring, the new ones will fill the forest with green color, with new life. Oak trees are some of my favorites when we talk about trees. There are some really huge, impressive examples of them, even in the local park. And every day I cross it, I can observe the color change of the leaves, the running squirrels fighting for the acorns. Just looking at these trees, I think what they might have survived being on this planet for so long. They evoke thought about strength, stability and power. And like all leaves that fall in autumn, leave the feeling of expectancy that the life goes on. I hope you enjoyed this video. If that's the case, give me a like and subscribe to the channel. Happy autumn and stay creative, my friends. Bye!